Today I'm going to show you how to plant up an autumn container. So the main thing is to think about a centrepiece, how big that's going to be and where it's going to be placed, if it's going to be in the middle or at the back. We've chosen today a Skimmia rubella, really tough, hardy shrub, and then they open up into spring flowers later on. We've got some violas, we've got some cyclamen, we've got some thyme, which is great for training, it smells nice and you can also use it for cooking. Lamium, which is one of my favourite training plants. It's evergreen, it's tough, it flowers, it's just really versatile. Got some evergreen grasses, again that complements with the contrast of the flowers and the other foliage plants. Heuchera, they come in all shades of, sort of reds and dark maroons and even limes. But again, they complement each other very well, it's evergreen. And we also have some calunas, which are heathers, and these are also very, very good and they flower for a very long time, just to fill the container up and give you long-lasting colour throughout autumn into early spring, into summer. The most important thing before planting any container up is to make sure it's got drainage. So you need to make sure there's a hole in the bottom of each container. We're using a barrel here that has a pre-drilled hole in it, but some don't, so you need to make sure that you do drill a hole in those. And then obviously it's about what you can use to make sure that the soil is free draining. So we're going to be adding some rocks to the bottom of this pot just to cover the hole up. That stops the gravel falling straight through in any soil. We're going to be using washed gravel then to put on top of that. So then in contact with the soil, the moisture can flow through the soil into the gravel and out of the container, because it's really key that you have drainage, because the plants would rot off if they got too damp. We'll just pop the gravel in now. Again, you just want to do a nice even amount around the bottom. And just make sure it's levelled off, and that's ready for planting. We're now going to add the compost. I'd recommend using a peat-free multi-purpose compost, and also we're going to add some fertiliser at this stage. We're going to use some slow release fertiliser which will feed the plants over 6 months. I'm going to make sure that we put that fertiliser pre-planting so it's in contact with the roots, ready to plant. So first of all, we need to get our compost. We're looking at filling up the container about maybe halfway. So just gently pour that in. That should do us a little bit more. And make sure there's no lumps in this. Make sure it's really nice and loose. Compact it down. Again, we don't want to have any air pockets in the bottom, because you want to make sure that the roots have really got a good firm base to establish into. That will also help it stop it drying out. That should be fine. And you need to think about not overplanting the container too high up, because you do want to have a good inch or so below the container level, so when you are watering it, you can really give the container a really good soak. And at this stage, we're quickly going to add some fertiliser. And for this size barrel, I'd probably say about a handful or so. And we're just going to be lightly scattering that evenly across the container. We're now ready to plant. So you now need to think about where the container is going and how much of it you're going to view. So we're going to start off with the centrepiece, and the reason why I said where it's going to go is you need to think about, is that plant going to go in the middle or is it going to go towards the back? So it could be that it's going against a wall or the either side of a front door, so you might want to put the skimmer at the back so you have more colour at the front. But if you're going to be looking at the 360 view of the container, you may want to put the centrepiece in the middle and then have colour all the way around. But for today we are going to be placing it at the back. It's very important with any of these plants that you do tease the roots out. So, and the idea of just teasing the roots out is to make sure that the roots don't continue going round and round. They venture out and find their roots going into the container, into the soil, so they establish really well, which will benefit the plant so they don't dry out as quick and they really establish and flower extremely well. So just tease those out gently. I'm going to be popping this one in just at the back here, because we know that's going to be our centrepiece. And some plants do have a front and a back, so do make sure that you see the really good side. Make sure that's facing the direction that you're going to be seeing the most. So that's our main plant in, and that's where we're going to be working from. Now a top tip before you plant everything all at the same time is just to place a few in ideas of how you want it to look first, just in the containers, and that way you can move them around and change things if it's not looking correct. So we just pop a few in to begin with. Once you're happy with the way it's positioned, it's ready to plant. And make sure at each planting stage that you do tease those roots out so they establish very, very well. The last stage, once you're happy with all the planting and how it all is in place, is to just top up with some compost. So you need to make sure that all those plants are in contact with compost all the way around this root system, and make sure there's no gaps between the plants and the container. You might want to use a trowel for this one. So grab the compost, and you just really want to be just topping up around each plant, just making sure it's nice and firm, there's no air pockets. Go all the way around in between each plant, just pull them away gently. And the reason we do that is to make sure that they don't dry out too much when it's drier months. And don't forget, once it's all planted up, you need to give your container a really good water. We've left that inch just below the top of the container so we can give the container a really good soak. And there you have it, your autumn container is now complete. This will flower from now right through to spring for you to enjoy for many months to come.